G'day and welcome to another smashing edition of the RDFNL Netball Show. Thanks to our friends at Ontime Delivery Solutions and Western Water. My name's Yeendy. I'm joined by Tara Murray. Thanks for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
Certainly some great games of netball over the weekend, and we start to see the ladder really take shape even more. I know it's a little bit cliche, but I really can't see who's going to be in the finals yet. It's a long way to call.
Well, I was going to say, you're saying the ladder takes shape. I don't think it actually is. It's getting harder and harder to predict. You've still got several clubs that are outside the top six who look like on their day can knock off any side and could move into that top six. So it's a pretty interesting season. And I know I spoke to one coach during the week and she said this is a more even season than it has been in more recent years, and it is so hard to predict who's going to win each week.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I'd hate to think of how crazy it would be if we had the full complement as well. I think it'd be even tougher.
It would, obviously, and get more talented netballers into the local league, which is what you always want. Unfortunately, we don't have that, but we've still got some good netball coming out on the court, and we saw some cracker matches on the weekend.
We certainly did, and Melton Central's got the win they desperately needed by taking down Broadford. There was nothing separating the sides at quarter time before Central shot away. Look,
it was sort of what you expected. You had the bottom two teams on the ladder, but we all rate Melton Centrals. We don't rate them the ninth worst team. So we've all seen what they can do in recent years. And you look, in the middle two quarters was sort of what the difference was. Melton Centrals kept Broadford to just 10 goals across the second and third quarter, and that's sort of when they broke open the game and took control of it. You had Emily D'Antonio was best for Centrals, and she was down the defensive end, and they had a few other players, I think, possibly up from B grade or different names that I hadn't seen there. So they were trying different options to see whether they can get something to click. For Broadford, you had Narelle Fletcher was their best, so she's been around for a while, I know that, and she was a star for them in the centre court.
Yeah, fantastic. Hopefully she can keep that form going. Next big game, the Bombers took down the Sharks in a game that really could have gone either way, but I think the Bombers would be really happy with that effort.
Oh, Bombers would be really happy. Look, I rate Riddle, really rate Riddle. They are a good side. They've got some talented, experienced players, and then they've got a lot of youth. And obviously they're playing Rupertswood, who is second on the ladder, and is another side that's got experience and youth. They're both very similar. They've both got that same mix. Going into this match, my concern with Rupertswood was who were they going to have on the court, because they did have VNL commitments that was going to affect them. We had spoke about that most of Riddle's players had played before the weekend, so they weren't affected in the same way. And in the end, Rupertswood had a couple of unavailabilities as well. So for them, it was an opportunity to try some different things, try some different combinations. They were within 4 goals in the third quarter. It did blow out at the end, but in the end, I spoke with Di McCormack, and she was pretty happy with the performance. She knew that it was going to be a challenging day, not having their full complement of players. And you look in their goal-in circle, they had Hannah Keane, who's just turned 16. She played 3 quarters and was the Sharks' best player on the day. They also had Lucy Bettina playing in the goal circle, Beck said, so they only had one of their A-grade shooters, and they're giving those other players opportunities. In defence, they threw Lara Keating and Matilda Elliott were in goalkeeper and goal defence together, something they haven't done. So you sort of see in the future, and both of these sides, and I know Macedon's another one, we're sort of seeing clubs aren't worrying necessarily about where they finish as long as they're making finals, they're happy. They're trying these different combinations. They're seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, promoting the youth. And we've seen that with Riddle. They played a number of their under-19 players for, I think it's the 3rd or 4th week consecutively, because they do have absences later in the year. So we're sort of seeing these two sides are looking for the future, and they will both play finals.
Beck Colwell on 5, just a lazy 46.
I was going to say, she's on fire every week.
It's pretty standard for her.
It is. I know I've seen her play a few games, and every time you see her miss a goal, you're like, oh, she missed a goal. So it doesn't happen very often, but we've seen she's been one of the stars of this competition and at higher levels for a number of years, so it's no surprise for her to do that.
She's a bit of a draw factor as well. I think crowds should be doing their best to get down and watch her play, let alone Riddle, but I think fans will get value for their buck by going down and watching probably the premier shooter in the competition. I'd love to see... now the Hope's back into the fray down at Romsey. I'd love to see Hope at one end and Beck at the other, and see 2 of them have a really good shootout, because that is 2 of our finest shooters in the competition right there.
It is, and for a long time, both of those they've had this. They've been around and been able to sustain that form. I know they've both been part of numerous team of the years, all of that sort of stuff.
And dominant. And
yeah, so obviously we're not sure 100% whether Hope is playing A grade or what Romsey is doing out there with the loss of Bronwyn Blair, but it's something we'll definitely see in the next couple of weeks.
Game that was extremely close, and I'm excited seeing this result. Rockbank got within 8 goals of Macedon. I'm pumped about that.
It is, and I think Rockbank would be pleased with it. Obviously, they would like to get the win.
Yep.
But for them, it's about closing the gap, and they are closing the gap on those top sides. They're not getting blown out anymore. So we are seeing they are closing that gap, and they are on the edge of that top 6 as well. So on their day, they can knock off any team. Macedon didn't have their full strength team again. I don't think they've had their full strength team all year. And like I said, with Rupert's Wood and Riddle, they don't care about the wins during the year as long as they make finals, and they're worried about what happens in the court come finals time. And we're sort of seeing that the gap has closed with them, but I think Rockbank are massive improvers at the same time.
Exactly. It wasn't that long ago. Well, a few years ago, they didn't have an A-grade side, and they've been able to bounce back. And I think the under-19s played in the finals last year, and that was massive for the club. And they're doing some great things now. So well done, the mighty Rams. Wallen accounted for Wood and Heskett in testing conditions at times, but the young Hawks, they put on a good show.
Exactly, and I think obviously we talk about Rockbank closing the gap. I know Wood and Heskett's another side that is looking to close the gap on those top sides, and you look, that's probably one of their closer margins against the top side. So it was trying conditions and probably not your best for you shooters. Obviously wind and a bit of rain. I know, speaking to numerous coaches, once they get the wind up at Green Hill Reserve, it is a horrible place to play netball, and I'm glad it's not me up there, because my shooting can be a bit iffy at the best of times.
Yep.
But obviously you've got that. You've got the Hawks, they've got that young playing group, and it's just about gelling, and they will build and continue to build. And 3-4 years down the track, if they can keep this group together, they're going to be getting some really, really good results. Obviously for Wallen, it was their stars that sort of dominated. Across the court, you sort of had everyone that stood up when they needed to, and they were in the end, it was a quite convincing win.
Both sides were full of respect for each other as well, in respect to where Wallen as a club they're headed, and where Wood End as a club they'll be, Wood and Heskett, I should say, as they're headed into the future. So I think that's a really good sign of where the competition's growing right there. And another important game of the Heartstopper, Diggers Rest pipping Romsey by 1 goal.
This was the most interesting game of the round, and look, we sort of thought this heading into that one and your Riddle Rupo game, but this one showed it. It was interesting because we're yet to see these two teams play each other. They were meant to play each other in round 1, and as we know, that game was postponed. So it was quite interesting. Diggers Rest ended up coming from behind at 3/4 time to get the win. Scores only sort of drew level in that last minute and a half, and Diggers Rest managed to get over the line. So I had a chat to Pam Strong for this week's paper, and she sort of said they've had a tough few weeks, obviously not playing the way they would like, but they've had player unavailability, players playing with injury, so they haven't been full strength. So they have struggled a little bit, and even during this match they were missing several key players as well. So they're not at full strength. They pulled up a few B grade players, and Georgia Leonard's one who's come up, who's been a defender at Diggers Rest the last few years. Before that at Rupert's Wood, she ended up playing a little bit of defence in A grade, and then got thrown in centre as well, and performed really well despite that not being her usual position. So she
was one of the best players too.
Yeah, she was named the best, and Pam said she did a really, really good job. Olivia Thomas was also a good game, and Shelby Strong, who obviously is a goaler, but she's having to do a mountain of work in the midcourt with Carly Harrison missing the last few weeks. So she's become a very big feeder into the circle to Kathy Dicker. So it was a massive win for Diggers Rest in the concept of their season as well.
And Romsey is looking for life post Bronwyn Blair for the rest of the season, a big loss.
It is a big loss, and obviously on the weekend they had Michaela Coates come up and play. Hope didn't play any netball on the weekend, so I'm not sure whether she was injured or what was the go there, and whether Michaela's going to be the one who sort of fills that position. You look at it, Chelsea Ross stepped up massively in the absence of Bronwyn Blair. She shot 37 goals from 39 attempts, and overall Romsey just missed 4 shots for the whole entire game.
That is remarkable.
So they made the most of their opportunities when they were in the circle, and it is hard to beat a team when they play like that. Unfortunately, they did get pipped at the line, and it's they've lost a couple of close ones, Romsey, this year. They've had a draw. I think they've lost a close one. They've won a close one. Now they've lost one. They've been in a lot of close matches, so they're around the mark, but it's just about trying to get over the line in all those matches.
Not bad for the reigning premiers, who had to do a bit of a rebuild in the off-season. As we turn our attention to this weekend's big games, and we'll talk up Broadford and Rupo.
We saw these two teams play each other 2 weeks ago, so it's obviously this is to do with the fixture with Lansfield and Sunbury Kangaroos not having A-grade sides, so we are seeing these two teams play each other again quite quickly. Look, you're going to say Rupo get over the line again. I think they'll do what they did 2 weeks ago. They'll throw their lineup around. They'll give different players opportunities and see what they can take out of the game that way. Obviously, Broadford, they want to reduce the margin from 2 weeks ago. They want to improve on that and show, yep, we have made some developments even in a short period of time.
I think Broadford will still take some positives out of the weekend as well. That challenging Melton Central for parts of the game. Macedon and Woodend Heskett, obviously the Cats are flying and undefeated at the moment. But the Hawks, again, they showed that they could run with one of the experienced sides in the comp last week.
It is. It's probably the most experienced side in the competition against probably the least experienced side in the competition.
Yep.
And that's obviously you've got your new sides that have come together, but Woodend have got a lot of young players, so they're all pretty young and inexperienced. And you look, Hawks will want to take it up and close that gap as they've been doing to these top sides. The Cats, whether they can get their full side on the court, they'll love that opportunity, so then they can actually see them at full strength. But I think the Cats will be way too strong.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And can I say as well, in terms of the standard netball across the competition, we're seeing the gap close across pretty much all games. I know Broadford haven't won a game this year, but they haven't played badly. And we're seeing the margins just sort of getting smaller and smaller. You touched on it earlier. I think this is one of arguably the best seasons we've had in a long time. We've still got your top sides, we've still got your sides down the bottom, but in terms of all netball comps around the region, we're seeing some really good margins in these ones.
Oh, we are. They are getting closer, and that's what Pam Strong said. The competition is less predictable. It is closer than last season, so you are going to see these upset results. And I know doing netball tipping, it's doing my head in with the tipping, going, I think this one's going to win. But it's good to see for the competition. You like that unpredictability. You like to see the different teams winning and see the excitement of, obviously, Rockbank. I know how excited they are when they get the wins. Even Woodend Heskett, when they knocked off Rockbank, these sides are so excited to get the wins they haven't got in previous years, and it's good signs for the competition going forward.
Speaking of a bit of unpredictability as well, next game, Centrals and Diggers Rest. I think Centrals, they might just pull a rabbit out of a hat here.
This is the game of the round. This will be very, very interesting. We've obviously got two sides that haven't played their best netball this year. They've been up and down and probably lost matches we expected them to win. So you've got Diggers Rest, who is coming off a thrilling win against Romsey. For them, they'd love to get their full side back on the court, or at least get a couple of players back. They have missed players the last few weeks. And you've got Melton Centrals, who returned to the winners list with a good win against Broadford. They were playing the bottom side. For them, they still see their finals aspirations alive, but to do that, they need to win this game, and they need to beat the sides they're looking to play finals against, and Diggers Rest is one of them.
Who wins this one and why?
I think Diggers Rest. Obviously, I think despite the fact they're missing players, there is a little bit more consistency with their side. Melton, we have seen struggle, and their shooting accuracy has been a problem for them. They do have some experienced players, but they've got a number of young players coming through that side as well. So I'm going to stick with Diggers Rest.
Yeah, but a lot of emphasis on this game, because this will really impact how the rest of the season shapes up for the ladder proper. Riddle and Rockbank.
Yeah, you've got obviously two of the big improvers this year. Neither of these sides played finals last year, and we're seeing Riddle is a hot team when you face them. They take it up to everyone. I think they've only lost a couple of matches, and they've lost to the likes of Macedon and Romsey, and both of those matches they were in both of them right until the end. So they're obviously not that far off it, and I think Rockbank is an improving side, but I think Riddle is still that little bit of level above them. And I think that experience paying off. Obviously, Rockbank's bookends are going to have a challenge ahead of them. You've got Lauren Close at one end and Beck Colwell at the other end. So if Rockbank's any chance of winning, they need to shut down both of those two players. Yeah, exactly. If Beck can have an off day where she might miss 3 goals for the day, that'll do the game justice in terms of Rockbank maybe given half a chance here. And the final game we'll look at is going to be an absolute rip-roaring one as well. It's going to be Romsey and Wallen. Yeah, it's another interesting one, and another one that could help shape the ladder as well. You've got Wallen, who isn't doing anything wrong. When they have lost matches, they're only close losses as well. So they've took it up to everyone. And Romsey, who has been on the end of a couple of tight losses, so they're not able to get over the line when we need. Obviously, what happens with their goal shooting circle is something we'll keep an eye on as well, whether Michaela Coase is going to play every game or they'll look at bringing in a different option. That's probably the interesting aspect there for them. But obviously, Romsey's shown they do have a bit of flexibility, and we've seen it the last few weeks. They've had to throw players around. They've had to try different things and be quite interesting. I know they did miss VNL players on the weekend, weekend, and they just fell short against Diggers Rest, who were missing players as well. So I think it's going to be quite interesting. I think Wallen will be too strong. They've done everything right, and it's hard to tip against them.
Yeah, I'm with you that one. I think the Pies will just be too strong, but it'll be a great indication of where both sides are at, and a genuine blockbuster for the upcoming round 10 action. Tara, thanks so much for joining us on this week's edition of the show, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks for having me.